Gang, the coronavirus has proven that it's going to be here for a while. The nasal swab tests are hard to get and very expensive. Well, our friends at Pro Results are doing rapid COVID-19 antibody testing to let you know if you have had the virus. They take cash or credit, no insurance needed, no doctor appointment required, and you get your results in 15 minutes. Tell them you heard about them on How Did I Get Here and receive 15% off of your tests. Just go to ProResultsAustin.com/HDIGH or follow the link in the text of this podcast for 15% off antibody testing for COVID-19.
And you may ask yourself, well, how did I get here?
It's time for How Did I Get Here? And now here is your host,
All right, hello. I'm Johnny. I'm your host. Welcome to the show. Gang, I hope you survived the weekend. It's no longer a matter of did you have a good weekend. I hope you had fun this weekend. What'd you do this weekend? I just hope you survived the weekend. That's where we're at now, I feel like. We've entered a level of insanity that has literally blown my mind over the last week. Not not that the rest of this hasn't blown my mind. But I'm also, like, my mind is blown on a level of, where do we live? Have you been watching the stuff that's going on in Portland? They're like these federal militarized police that are running around in unmarked rented cars, like vans and stuff. They're running up and just grabbing people, throwing them in the fucking van, and taking off. And I guess a couple of people come out and been talking about it and stuff. And the mayor of Portland is asking the president to take those guys out of there. But we've entered a new level of sort of like, you know, it started off with like last week and they let Roger Stone out of prison. Like Roger Stone, he may seem like a minor guy to you. You might not know who he is, but you should go watch this movie called Get Me, Roger Stone. It's on Netflix. You can watch it. Fantastic documentary. And he tells you who he is and what he's done in history. Watch it. That guy's running the streets, man. They let that dude out. And then it's just kind of like this weird, intense sort of abuse of power is what it feels like to me. Now look, if you're not of this mindset, if you don't think that this is horrible, and I'm sorry, and you're like, why is he doing this in the podcast? You know, well, I'm fucking fed up is what it is. I don't know what's going on. This is insane. The taking of the power from the CDC, or just the power of information from the CDC to give to the people, that's kind of freaky. The militarized police in Portland, that's super freaky. That weird sort of campaign speech in the Rose Garden when he was supposed to be talking about, like, giving a press conference. It's just gone to a level of sort of like insanity where the whole like Banana Republic idea makes sense now. This is like a fucking insane administration. I don't know what to say. The world has gone mad. We got this pandemic going out of control. I don't know, man. I don't know. Okay, so how do I pull out of this and pull into another thing? I saw a great movie this weekend. Let's just start there. I saw a great movie this every Saturday. My cousins and I have been. My cousin Eric and his wife Tessa started a film society. It's called the Amity Film Society. Find it on Twitter if you want. Follow us. We talk about what movies. We watch movies on Saturdays. I mean, I think we might start watching more movies a week together. But me and a few of my cousins watch these movies. Somebody picks a movie and we watch it. This weekend we watched The Farewell. Beautiful movie starring Awkwafina. It's a story of a family and the meaning of family and who carries the burden in family. Very, very, very beautiful movie. It's called The Farewell. Worth watching. It's on Amazon Prime. You can watch it for free there. All right? There's your plug for the movie. Speaking of Amazon Prime, real quick, before we jump this shark, my dear friend and mentor, and possibly outside of my parents who brought me into this world, really the most important person that has shaped my life, is a man named Mark Hallman. He's a producer and mixer and mastering guy here in town, master musician, great songwriter. The guy who kind of brought me into this, I've known him since I was about 12 or 13 years old. And there's a documentary about him, and it's called The Shopkeeper. And it is also available now on Amazon Prime. So if you have Amazon Prime, go watch this beautiful movie. I actually am in it as well as just the story. Mark's story is great. What he's done for all these musicians, these sort of like orphan musicians like myself. He takes us in. I lived in his studio when I moved to Austin in 1991. He gave me a place to live, $150 a month, no bills. Fantastic, right? I worked at Whole Foods, starting a band, getting my shit together. Made my my record with my band, Mr. Rocket Baby, with him. He produced it. I recorded it there in the studio where I lived, my home, the Congress House, such a great studio. So yeah, talking about, so go check that out, The Shopkeeper. Available now on Amazon Prime. Has a lot to do, you know how like documentaries tell two stories at one time? Like one general story that affects all of society and then just sort of like one personal story? Well, this one, the overarching story is just kind of like what's happened with recording budgets ever since music has moved to streaming and the income for musicians has dropped so drastically in their record sales. So, and you know, it tells that story about society. Then you get Mark Hallman's personal story. And it's beautiful. The Shopkeeper. Available now on Amazon Prime. Directed by my friend Rain Perry. And listen, I'm going to give it, starring me. No, I'm just one of the many people in it. But it's really great. And it's a beautiful man who deserves to have his beautiful story told. So anyway, check it out. The Shopkeeper. I'll stop now. Anyway, that takes me back to that time when I was in a band called Mr. Rocket Baby. Even before I was in this band called Mr. Rocket Baby, I had this girlfriend named Yvonne, and she had grown up with this guy named Chadwick Salls, who's a phenomenal musician. And I met him way back then, like around 92, 93. And we became fast friends, man. We've always been friends. He had this band called Seed that got signed to Giant Records in like the early 90s, like 93, 94. Their record Ling came out. It was a great record, great band. They were on the MTV and everything. They had a video that was on MTV, and they toured with all kinds of bands. And then eventually they split up, and he started another band called Color. And then they had a record that came out on literally September 11th, 2001. So we talk all about this stuff. His latest group was called Kazi, and now he's working on some new solo stuff with... He's been doing some stuff with Dwight Baker and some other people. And he's going to have some music hopefully coming out pretty soon. Chadwick Salls, man, what a great dude. All this whole time, he's always been like one of the nicest guys around. He sends me records that he thinks I should listen to all the time. And he's turned me on to some great music. In fact, I've been listening to this Z Berg album because of him, man. It's fucking great. And I've tried to turn some other people onto it. Anyway, Chadwick and I have a great conversation. He's a fantastic musician, a great songwriter, and overall a very, very, very sweet dude. So please enjoy me and my dear old friend, Chadwick Salls, chatting it up. Let's get down.
Teaching and dog walking.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I spent the last couple of days with my dog at his mom's house while she was out of town. It
Nice.
was great,
Nice.
yeah.
So you don't have a dog at home anymore?
He doesn't live with me. I haven't lived with him for 10 years.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
Still see him almost every day, though.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So how are you? You doing good?
Good. Yeah.
Yeah?
I mean, I lost a bunch of students because of COVID, but they're slowly, coming back.
Yeah.
It's just people want lessons, but they just don't have the money anymore. So,
right.
Yeah.
That's irony when you get to the time when you actually have the time.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, because right now you could have taken someone, from starter to Ingve in like 4 steps.
Yeah. Yeah. But everybody's finally like coming back. It just seems this last week, but now it's like doing it over Zoom is horrible. But just at my house is a lot better, but I'm still going to wait a while for that.
Right. My friend Corey was having you know Corey Glazer, bass player guy.
Maybe if I saw
He
his
plays
face.
in Skyrocket, and he had that band Sheboygan.
Oh yeah.
He was not digging it at first, and now he loves it.
What?
So, doing the Zoom lessons.
But so much easier, like, especially if they're like nine, like
Right.
to move their fingers. But
Sure.
yeah, if they're more like intermediate players, then yeah, that's totally cool.
Man, how did we meet?
Actually, Yvonne
Rosenblum. That's right.
Yep, and I was just thinking of this. I've 30 years in Austin, probably this month.
Yeah.
And I just moved here right out of high school, so like barely 18. And I think I was walking home from Sound Exchange, and it was either your house or Yvonne's.
It was hers. She lived right behind there. Yeah.
And then she kind of like yelled at, "Hey, Chad!"
Yeah.
And then she's like, "Meet my boyfriend Johnny." So yeah, you're actually one of the first Austonians that I met in Austin. So.
Nice. I had just moved here from Houston. Not like I moved here in 91.
Right.
Like when she moved here. Okay.
Well then.
So yeah.
Okay.
That must have been when we met.
It's around there.
Yeah. What was that? Why was that move? You got out of high school and you came here for
because I didn't have any college to go to, and we had talked about going to Berkeley, like Dwight Baker,
yeah,
and he and I were high school friends, and he was going to Berkeley, but Boston's way too expensive, and I probably couldn't have gotten in anyhow. But there's talks of music schools, but my sister lived here. And I still like Texas more than kind of colder Boston weather.
Yeah.
So I just thought it would just be better just to move here, get a job. I worked at Gumby's Pizza,
nice.
Place, delivering pizzas, and then just try to start music. And it took maybe a good 6 months to a year before Dean and Gabrielle moved.
Okay.
From Seed,
right.
But that was like the first kind of real like Austin band that I had.
Did you ever think it was weird that I took sloppy seconds on all of your drummers?
I think we traded them. Well, I have good taste in drummers.
Yeah,
so
you do.
So
you vet them for me.
You do. Yeah. but I think they've kind of like we'll trade one, but like say Bill was yours and came to mine, and then came back to you once you got signed. So yeah, we're just trading stuff.
Just trading stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So
okay. Yeah, I did some recording. We did some recording with Bill.
Yeah.
What a talented guy that guy is.
Oh God,
man.
the whole family.
Yeah, that's true. That's
true.
And
it's so much fun being in a band with like funny people.
Yes.
And Bill just always cracked me up. And like out of all the bands, like he was one of the members that actually wanted to write. And and we co-wrote some even when he was in Seed for a while, which probably jumping ahead there, but it was nice having somebody else wanting to contribute, because it's fun for me to get to play a bass part on a song that I have no say, right? And then you try to write the best bass part you can. So
yeah. You said your sister lived here when you moved here, and I read something while creeping around on you on Facebook last night, like just kind of going through your life.
Right.
You and your brother and sister are all kind of born.
So my sister and I have the same like birthday, but she's 6 years older than me.
Right.
And then my brother is born the day after, and he missed it by like 2 hours. And the joke was like, it was like maybe my parents' anniversary, but it or 9 months after, but that wasn't the reason. So we still don't know, but it's great for family reunions and getting together. So if not, it'd be kind of hard to get together since everybody's in different towns. But
what did your parents do? You lived in Houston.
My dad was an engineer, and then he kind of started off at 15 just as the kind of shit boy, but he just worked his way up. He never graduated college, but he's just a genius kind of in every way. And just rather than us going on family vacations, he just put money back into his business. And then eventually he became like the president of his business, and it was vibration and isolation control. So like if anything's loud, like they figured out how to make it quieter or whatever.
Yeah.
So, and then my mom was just a mom for years and years, but then she worked, a handful of years for my dad when my brother and sister went to college. We needed more money, so she went to work for my dad for a while.
Oh, that's cool. How did music? Were there people like listening to music in your house?
Oh,
your parents?
Not at all. It's one of those things. Like as a little kid, I was too short to do the piano, and I was up there, trying to figure it out. I remember "It's Only Love" by the Beatles, which there's a weird a B flat in the key of C. So I'm surprised as a little kid I was able to figure that out. But I knew it was just music is pretty much all I have,
Yeah.
So even at a young kid, I knew just, I was just crazy over it.
Yeah. Yeah. You're definitely, you've always been a fan of music. The first time I ever heard of Fiona Apple was from you. I remember that at some party, either at you or at Bill's house or something.
Yeah. I think it was at Bill's. Yeah. And I remember some girl was like, she can't even sing in tune, but I'm just like, well, I love her.
Look out. Hey, have you heard that new record of hers?
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
When the Pawn is like her biggest failure, but to me, by far, it's my favorite. So, and they're finally putting that out on vinyl. So I'm excited about that. I've been waiting for that for 20 years. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're a huge fan of music. You're always sending stuff. Like there's other people that say like, man, Chad sent me this thing. Have you? And I'm like, oh yeah. Benjamin says that all the time.
Oh, nice. Well, for me, being a teacher, like I'm always like learning new things about music. And also that's the best thing about the internet is, we grow up thinking that we know so much about, 70s music or 80s music. And then all of a sudden, like, how in the hell did I never hear this?
Yeah.
So I'm, still always searching out new music and just kind of, and being a teacher, just learning about music still like, oh, well, shit, that's why that works,
Yeah. So when you're reaching up to play, like how much did it take from you to reach the piano and play before you asked for an instrument? And what was like your first instrument?
First instrument. So I wanted it to be bass, and they're like, no. And I have no idea why, but they didn't, they wouldn't let me. And I think my brother had an acoustic that, I learned Cat Stevens, or I just kind of looked at his hands.
Right.
But I never wanted to they were fine to like play around on, but bass, like to this day, I just want to be the cool bass player. I don't want to be this, like, I'm fine if I'm the singer, this and that, but just, being the melodic, like badass bass player is all I care about.
Yeah. That's, what's interesting about that is that you, having known you this whole time and watched your thing go down and watching videos and listening to stuff, and there was you're a dude that's happy to make the stuff and find some dude that's happy to be more of the salesman. You know what I mean?
Well,
as in a singer, like.
Right. Well, some of that I think is insecurity, because like back in the C days, I had this, kind of, even though I had this more like kind of baritone kind of voice, which I had no range at all. But after being the backup singer for so many years, then, all of a sudden I got this, it's much higher, So now I can do my little Bono Jr. But I did that for a while. But then it's just like, who wants, there's so many other bands that are U2 Junior anyhow. So.
Yeah. So anyway, so you asked for a bass, and they wouldn't give it to you.
Well, and then my dad had, and he put us all to work like early, like doing catalogs or whatever kind of like summer job.
Right.
And then we kind of saved up, and I'm sure, of course, he helped. And it was a Squire Precision. And I was so, and the crazy thing also, I think there was another bass that was cheaper that was a left-handed bass, and I almost became a left-handed, even though I'm right-handed. I almost bought the left-handed bass just because I didn't know better. I was just like, it looked cooler and it was cheaper, but And even as like seeing photos of me as a kid, I'm holding like plastic guitars all the time with my left hand. So, it could have gone either way, but I'm glad it went right-handed because it's so much easier to find instruments, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So did you start bands like in high school, and did you play like Zeldas and all that shit? Like Houston?
Yeah. And so actually probably my first, like I had a cover band, and what's really cool is Dwight Baker played drums.
All right.
And this guy Chico, he goes by Chico Jones now. He was like the singer keyboardist. So all three of us live in Austin now and are still doing music, which is pretty awesome. But that was just like a cover band where we would just like play, proms and stuff like that. But then our first band was a band called Cousin Spooky, which was which me, Dwight, and Mike Titsworth and this guy Rashawn, and that band, again, that's pretty much my first songs that I ever started writing that were horrible. Is like Bad Brains, Jane's Addiction, and Red Hot Chili Peppers. But I had never played funk in my whole life. I had just loved like the Smiths. I was a total new waver kid,
right?
But just I liked kind of heavier funky music too. So it's and we were probably like 16 or 17 when that started.
What years was that? Is that like, why do I remember?
So we might have played with Panjandrum. Like we played with like, even though I was like 16 or 17, like when it started, like I don't know why, but my parents would let us come up and we would play with like Bouffant Jellyfish.
Yeah.
And at the old Ritz and stuff like that. So, and like we played Corpus, and again, we were just like little like kids, just that, we didn't care. We just wanted to play.
Did you play Cantina Santa Fe in Corpus?
No, we actually played this. It was actually an outdoor like thing. It was just it's like almost like a reggae thing, even though we were reggae. Right. So I'm sure Mike, our singer, probably got us on that bill.
Yeah, that's so funny, man. How did you have to do tickets at Zelda's? I'm sorry,
Oh yeah. Of course. I remember that. Yeah. And I think we. I even remember that, and my bass head crapped out, and I played the whole gig without an amp, and that was the worst thing in the world. But people are like, it sounded good, but just a DI bass, I'm sure that sounded
right
horrible, but but make it happen.
So Cousin Spooky, did you guys ever make a record? I remember I remember that name. I don't know did we see each other or anything, but I do remember Cousin Spooky.
Yeah, we played at actually the Axiom is probably like downtown, like it's more of a punk rock club. That's probably where we played more than anything. But we got to open up for HR from Bad Brains. He had like a reggae band. Yeah. And again, imagine being like 16, 17 and like, this is like my idol.
Yeah.
And so we, it's almost like every one of my bands, like, there was some talent there, but we were never like that big in any town that we played at,
Right.
But it was, those were fun times.
Yeah, man. How did you guys travel? Like, did you go with your parents, or did you just like?
No. They just like, so his last name is Titsworth, Mike Titsworth. Okay. What an awesome, and one of the best frontmen that I've ever played with. But I think we would just like borrow a parent's car and they would just let us go. It's insane. Yeah.
Were you guys good kids, or were you like?
No, I mean, they didn't. I mean, I've had tattoos since I was 16, sure. but my parents like found out in like my mid to late 20s. But if they're listening, yes, I was a good kid. I mean, I just got away with everything. So I guess in their eyes, I was a good kid. My brother and sister knew different, but we were, it's weird. I had my fun, but then I was also somewhat responsible if we had to like drive and stuff like that. So I was always good with that.
There's also something about being like a well-mannered kid that is not really malintended. You tend to get away with a lot.
well, also being the baby, my brother and sister hated me because just as long as I called my parents at midnight, I could stay out till all hours. Both my brother and sister had to be back by midnight, and I'm old. I'm very lucky I'm alive and don't have many children. So
Yeah. All right. So Cousin Spooky breaks up after high school or splits up or whatever.
Yeah. And so I moved to Austin, and actually Mike and Dwight moved to Dallas, and they got a new guitar player. And it was just one of those things like it's weird. I like heavy music, but I just didn't want to play it. I'm just much more of a hooks kind of guy.
Right.
And so, whether it's the Beatles to whatever new wave stuff, is really what I wanted. It's to this day is what I want to do. I want to write just catchy stuff,
Yeah. But at that time, you said that you had gone from like listening to a lot of new wave. Was MTV like a thing for you?
Yeah. Well, 120 minutes, especially.
Oh yeah. Jesus.
Yeah. And that was one, we were kind of, we didn't have that much money, but it was nice that we had cable.
Yeah.
And 120 minutes was huge for me,
Yeah.
Even like, I mean, I saw, like U2, I remember seeing it on, October, like that. I mean, I was probably in 5th grade and just saying bands that ended up being huge is just so awesome that I was able to see that at such a young age.
Yeah. There was a thing that happened there, and I'm always trying to figure out the process of like, where did this whole thing go wrong? Like, with like pop music being a commercial viable thing that then all of a sudden did become something with like a level of artistic integrity. And then it just seems like it just kind of went off the rails, and then the thing just fell down. You know what I mean?
Well, I think just it's
like
hard
from MTV to Napster.
Yeah. But pop songs are hard. I think most people diss catchy songs because they can't write it. It's really hard. You have to do a lot of like studying to figure out how to find a good melody,
Yeah.
And I work,
Yeah. Yeah, that's a thing. I think guys like us don't have that fear of being melodic.
Never.
And
like some people will get so like, I'm tired of that song. Like that's a hit. I'll play that for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I mean, like even seeing The Edge, like maybe like 10 years ago, he's still smiling, like playing, I Will Follow, as he did at 18 years old, And so that's how I want to be. Like, I've never wanted to like, I remember like No Rain, like Blind Melon, like would just do like these kind of like it in minor, but I'm just like, don't do that. Just, be happy you wrote an awesome song.
Yeah, that was a weird thing because like when in our time, like when we met and sort of in our, my sort of early mid-20s, there was a general amount of sadness going on, and he had to have some kind of like, this whole thing had to be a drag. But I feel like I'm one of those people that like to this day, 51 years old and having done this like since I was a kid, when I get to a club at like say an hour from this time, 5:30 or 6 p.m.,
right.
like that door opening up, like I get chills.
Oh yeah.
To this day, walking into an empty place because I'm part of the thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm in. I'm part of the thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've always felt like that. Like I've always been like, I don't know if the same thing happened to you, but you looked at the TV and in the music stuff happening, and you're like, I'm one of them.
Yeah.
I'm not one of these dudes watching it. I'm one of those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was exciting, but it's one of those things that we also put so much work into it that I don't think any of us ever freaked out, hey, we got a record deal. We were just like, we really, really worked,
Yeah.
And, but it's still like, all I care about is being consistent and just writing good songs, and to this day, I'm still writing songs. I don't know who's going to hear it, but it's just one of those things, it's just kind of in me to keep on creating or whatever.
Yeah. Did I ever tell you? I don't know if I probably never told you, but right when we found out that we're probably definitely getting signed to our label, it was all of our band Gaudi and our managers in a car in LA driving from one place to another without those people to meet back up with them. And it was like we got in and everyone's like, fuck, guys, this looks like it's going to happen. And everyone's really excited and everyone's drunk and high. And then everything gets real quiet. And Einar goes, I'm finally one step closer to world domination.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
And I mean, and y'all worked your ass off too. So
we all did. Yeah. It's interesting. Like, do you obviously are still, are involved in music. You go out and you play, you see other bands and stuff. Mm-hmm. I don't know how much you interact personally with these bands, but do you have a feeling like a lot of the hard work and in a van and driving around without really knowing why is kind of out of there, where people are like, oh, I'll hire a publicist? It seems like to me that a lot of the mindset is more about that than actually sweat equity.
But music is a different time. I mean, think of, going out and just promoting all the time. Like that was just an extra job you had to do.
Yeah.
But just things are so much different now. I remember this band Kazi that I started just a few years ago, I still would make paper handbills and all my band members were like, people, but then you'd hand them to people and some of those people would be at your show. So.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So you moved to Austin. And you hook up with Gabrielle and Dean.
Dean was like one of my closest friends since kindergarten. So I'd known him since I was like 5 or 6. And they had spent a year in LA at the Musicians Institute.
Yeah, MI.
And I guess just things didn't happen. And Dean ended up getting into more metal in high school, and I still liked all my new wave stuff. So we kind of didn't really our bands would see each other at a talent show or something like that. But I think he always kind of told Gabrielle hey, Chad's a hard worker or whatever. And so let's just see if he's into playing. And so I'm like, I'm into playing if you're in Austin. Yeah. And then they moved to Austin.
Wow. And it was just the three of you guys that to start.
Yeah. And then we had a few, there's a guy named Joey. I can't remember his last name. He was in a band called Near Dark, and he was like a decade old. He was like a decade older than us.
Oh God, I know him.
Yeah,
I know him.
Yeah,
I love that guy. He's a nice dude.
Yeah, a very, very nice dude. Yeah. And so we played with him for a while, and then my friend Travis went to college with Kyle Schneider, who was our. I think once it's almost like getting Ringo. Like once Kyle joined, it's like. That's the band. So even though we played around for a year and a half with Joey, it didn't really seem like what we wanted it to be until Kyle came in.
Where were you guys playing? Like what? Just for my own nostalgia and anyone listening.
Back room a lot. God, I wonder if I'm not even sure if Cannibal Club was still around by then. That might be Cousin Spooky days. Steamboat. Really wherever we could get a gig, probably Flamingo Cantina. I
remember that Flamingo Cantina and this place Mercado Caribe.
Yeah, good memory.
Memory. And also the place that's Cheer Up Charlie's. It was that place Chances, and that wonderful lady who owned it that passed away, whose name is also escaping me. She there were places you just couldn't go play like Continental Club.
Yeah. But we would play whatever kind of side, dive bar on the 60s. And every band that I've been in, we just, if there's a gig to play, we're going to play it,
Yeah. That's a weird thing. Sorry, go ahead.
I would probably say Backroom and Steamboat was probably the places that we played the most, though. Just opening up for people, even we got to open up for Stone Temple Pilots, which is cool. At the back room, just right at their first once their record came out. So it was nice that even though we didn't have the biggest crowd, they some of these clubs would give us some cool gigs,
some cool breaks. Yeah. So what year was that when you guys got Kyle and you started doing your thing?
Probably 92. So I was in Austin for a while. And we probably played about a year and a half before anything bigger started happening. But I just remember just going to Kyle. We went to Kyle's childhood house, and his parents had a like a rehearsal room. And if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have gotten as good as we did. But we'd probably play 5-6 hours a day, and we were just it's so funny being in bands now where everybody's like, oh, practice, but for us, like, that's all we wanted to do was create and play. So
and you excelled at it. I mean, you guys. So then, what, you were playing your gigs, and how did you get your music to? Was it Howard Benson that signed you?
Yeah. So we started doing better in Austin, but then South by Southwest came, and like we just never got into South by Southwest, even though we were, we got to open up for Stone Temple Pilots, but just we couldn't get in. But by that time we had started practicing at the Arc. Yeah. And we're just like, well, crap, let's go practice. And Jared Tootin from Pariah told Howard, he was like, that band's pretty good in there. And so Howard walked in and he was like, that's good, like, play us another one. And then he's like, well, I'm gonna like get y'all signed. And we're like, whatever, like, we're not even in South by Southwest. But 6 months later, we were recording our record. I mean, we hadn't even signed our record deal, and we were like halfway through. It was all kind of like a handshake, and we were just kind of trusting Howard as a mentor,
Yeah. What, I mean, I know that he was very, cause there's a thing that I've always said, there's not many people that like get put in that position and then turn around and go like, hey man, go check out my friend. You know what I mean? Oh yeah. But you're a dude.
But we would do that. I mean, I can't tell you how many Mr. Rocket Baby, shows we went to.
Yeah.
I think back then it was almost like that everybody supported each other. Yeah. Yeah. And we would just go out just because it was almost just more like a scene, and it was just fun supporting our friends and seeing other bands. So yeah.
But I mean, I've always thought that was a very kind thing, because I know that when you're in that position, there's people that you don't want to send your guy to because you don't want him to get mad at you, that are constantly like, hey, can you give this to the guy, please? And you're like, dude, like, I don't get to sit down with the guy all the time. And no offense, but we kind of need to talk about me. And if I'm just coming in trying to sell him other dudes, he's going to be like, hey, so do you want me to just take your fucking thing away and give it to one of these guys? Yeah.
Yeah. But we did. I mean, we gave out so many demos to our A&R guy, at the end of it. But, it's.
And was that Hollywood? No,
it was called Mechanic, which was like a no-name label. And so Howard had the thing with him, and then it was Giant, which was Irving Azoff's label. Right. And so I think they were just letting Mechanic, put out the record, but then once they heard the record, they're like, we're kind of going to take over Mechanic. So even though they really didn't do too much, but it was all Steve Sinclair was his name. Okay. And he just, again, like, it was just a handshake. I mean, we were halfway through the record before we signed the deal, like I said. And but he just, and the songs were all over the place. Like half of it was like Jellyfish and just kind of, power pop, and then the second half is almost like Jane's Addiction and kind of more Seattle type stuff. I was 21 years old. I had no idea what I was doing, but yeah, I love music, and it's kind of all over the place.
I wouldn't say it's all over the place, man. I would say that, I mean, I don't know when the last time you listened to it was, but nope. I just listened to it, and like this morning, and I was just like, oh, like, this is a really, like, you guys were able to take a lot of what was happening sonically and guitar-wise,
right?
Where you would have like some Stone Temple Pilots level kind of chords with like that level of distortion and grit, but a very, very melodic song happening above it. That when the chorus hit, there was harmonies and like the kind of
and
stuff.
some of that was me just wanting to write to make my band happy. So like, everybody loved just more of the Seattle stuff. I was probably more of a Nirvana guy, where they were more of like a riff type guy. Right. But I was just trying to, just write whatever. Yeah, I mean, there's some things that I listen back and like, well, now that I know what's going on, now that I've taught for 20 years, I can understand music theory wise what was going on. I was like, well, like that was pretty cool. But back then I was just like, I don't know how to like change the key. Like, I mean, if I knew how to change the key, then Gabrielle would have like sang everything.
Yeah.
But back then I just wrote a song, and if it's too low for Gabrielle, then I sing it. If it's too high for me, he sang it. But we did some. There's some interesting like harmonies and stuff like that. That
definitely.
If it wasn't because of that not restriction, but just because we couldn't do it, like that's why cool things happen.
Yeah. And the bass playing is epic, not in an overplaying Flea kind of way, but
sometimes listening back to it is, I'm like, because it's funny.
Melodically, you're really going for stuff.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
Being a teacher.
Well, being a teacher, I'm like telling my students like space.
Right.
I had no idea what space was back then, but but I'm pretty proud of the seed bass parts, and even if somebody adds me on Facebook or this and that, they're like, they're always kind of like talking about the bass, and that always makes me feel, even though we didn't have so much success, to me that's success that people still care about it 25 years later.
I mean, how do you measure success now as a grown man? In the way that 21-year-old Chad putting out Ling.
Well, I think waking up and getting to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
And then going to bed, that's success for me,
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things that I don't have money to do, but I make whatever sacrifices to be a musician, but I also like mow lawns, and I like walk dogs too. So like I'm just kind of hustling with whatever I need to do.
Yeah. I feel like that's a real, but I mean, the thing is the success is that we get to do what we do, and it's the journey that makes this all worth it, rather than some kind of like finish. There's no finish line. There's no retirement party where someone gives you a gold watch. Right. Just one day you start going, and then one day you die.
Right. Yeah. But even teaching, like sort of being a mentor for kids. Oh my God. And some of the kids just shred. Like, it's just not shred as in a metal thing, but just like they understand music like that I would have never understood until I was 30, but I'm self-taught with stuff, but giving them the knowledge of, oh, well, this is what's going on. It's a wonderful thing.
Does it ever blow your mind, like how much is out there?
Oh yeah.
Like
all the time
now, like just being able to summon the chords of any song at any given moment. Can you imagine that shit when you're like 14 or 15?
Yeah. It makes me mad. Like even like the Smiths tuned up a whole step,
right?
Like no capo. So all the time I'm like trying to play this in F sharp and being like, this bass part is so hard. Right. And then I watched the video and I'm like, God damn, he's playing it in an E minor, and it's so simple, but
yeah. You played fretless bass, man.
Yeah, and that was because of Mick Karn, and now the guy's name's escaping me. He was in Robin Hitchcock's band, but he had also played on like Peter Murphy, I Loved, and there was a song. It was off Love Hysteria, and so anyhow, this bass player just died like a few months ago, and then all of a sudden I was listening to the song Indigo Eyes. I'm like, oh my God, like I totally ripped that off. Or it was a total like inspiration.
Right.
That was so awesome hearing that, because I hadn't listened to that record in, 30 years probably,
Yeah. Did you guys, like when you did your deal and all that stuff, did you guys do like a publishing deal with someone?
Yeah, we did. And again, it's all just kind of trusting. And it's this guy, Rick Krim, who I still am friends with to this day.
Why do I know that name?
I mean, he's a huge, I mean, he went on to like VH1 stuff to like, I mean, he was like a big, like guy in the industry. But we did that and just kind of.
But as a songwriter, did they like send you off to write with different people for
No,
them, for you, for anything?
Then, like I said, we were pretty much halfway through the record before we signed the deal. So it was so nice that and it was good and bad because we didn't know what we were doing, but there's no interference at all with the label, you know? And so with my other bands, we ended up writing with people, but I love writing with people, but just at the time, I think in Seed, it started off as this kind of Soundgarden type sound. And then I just started kind of writing just kind of more hooky type stuff. And I think they just let me kind of take over that, you know?
Yeah.
But there's some songs Gabrielle and Dean and I co-wrote or whatever. But.
Right. Well, I remember in my conversations with Howard Benson, there was like that guy's the guy vibe from him about you.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, he was very, very taken with your writing.
Yeah, Dean and I were always like, nobody else is going to do it for us, and I mean that's how I learned guitar and piano. It was like I needed to figure out how to write songs, you know.
Yeah,
and but I've always wanted to create, and I'm still, you know, doing it whether people hear it or not, you know.
Yeah, that's the important thing. So there's this 1995 interview where you guys were on this some kind of thing where you have like the Robert Trujillo braids. Yeah. That was fun. That was right. We had to play 120 minutes. We actually got another thing. I remember that. Yeah.
We got to play live on 120 minutes.
Yeah, I remember that.
Which was amazing. I think they only showed it a few times. And then I think we did Conan later on. And then
I remember that too. Yeah.
And then at 2 a.m, we did this and it was right. So it was on FX, and it's right when FX became a thing.
Oh, okay.
And we were only supposed to play, but we just kind of didn't leave. We just kept on messing with people. And I think they thought we were funny. So they let us, stay. And of course, just looking. So I found a guy that had that because we were on tour. So you can't DVR anything, and so I couldn't, copy anything. But I found a guy online that had it, and it took him a month to find it. But I was so thankful that he did. But of course, the first opening scene, Gabrielle is flipping off.
Yeah.
I'm just oh, good. But it's fun hearing that, because I always remember Dean and I talking, but more. And but then just some of the stuff Gabrielle said was just hilarious. It was, it's fun to look back at that.
Yeah. When you there was a thing, and I know exactly where you guys were coming from with this. There's a whole Kyle's gonna hey, what are some of your favorite bands? You're like, don't name Austin bands. And all of you guys were like, don't name an Austin band. And so I remember this sort of thing, and I remember it. I think that's what happens to pop dudes in Austin. You're like, well, fuck you. You know what I mean? There's not just one style of music or this blues or funk or whatever country.
Well, Kyle liked a lot, but yeah, it was just, we didn't sound like any other.
No.
I mean, he was going to name Earl Harvin and JJ bands.
Right. Of course. So, yeah.
But, and neither of those bands, our drummers really had a band at the time. So
yeah, it's funny how much Earl informed this region.
Oh God.
Musically at a time when he was young, before he was out on a national level. There's people that when you say Earl, I know exactly who you're talking about. You know what I mean?
Well, even in Cousin Spooky, I think it was Rubber Bullet.
Oh yeah.
Their bass player was sick or something. And I was just hanging out that was definitely at the Cannibal Club, but I got to play probably Mountain Song or something with them, and just playing with Earl. It was just a sound check or whatever.
I know, but still, you played with Earl.
Glorious. I know. Yeah, it was awesome.
A few years ago, maybe 15 or 16 years ago, I was at Halcyon, that coffee place downtown, before a gig. And I was, when Panjandrum, when we were managed by Fitzgerald's, so, and Ten Hands was managed by one of the dudes that was one of the owners of Club Dada in Dallas.
Right.
And so they would do a lot of trading things with people. And we ended up doing, remember The Big One Is Coming? That album, that Ten Hands album that came out?
Oh, yeah,
like
yeah,
the
yeah,
live
yeah.
one.
Yeah.
We ended up doing like the whole like run of shows opening for them.
Oh, wow. That would have been awesome.
Yeah. It was very awesome. And it was awesome. And Earl just like the nightly, I just remember sitting like on the side stage upstairs at Fitzgerald's, like in that little room, like just watching him from the side and shit, you know, and just seeing like all the things he did. And anyway, about 15 years ago, I go to Halcyon and I'm looking at this dude and I'm like, he's looking at me and I'm like, Earl? And he's like, yeah,
nice.
What is your name? And I'm like, Johnny. I used to be in Pantandrum.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And so he was like, oh shit, he was playing with Air. And I ended up going to see them the next night. And it was like, he played bass on tunes too. It was just everything about, like, I was just like, man, that guy is a heavyweight. Like, always has been a heavyweight.
I almost want to say he and Jason Faulkner were in Air at the same time.
I think so. Do you know this guy, James Rotundi, goes by Roto?
No.
Oh, you would love this dude. He played with them too, and he's part of that whole Faulkner,
Right.
like muso guys, like super, super musical guys.
Right.
All right, so with Seed, that you put out Ling, you did a lot of touring, you did a lot of radio stuff. That's when like alternative radio, stopped being. Like you guys were playing with Letters to Cleo, I remember.
Yeah, well, they were also on our label.
On your label, okay.
So we had like toured together and stuff.
How long did you guys tour on Ling?
Quite a bit, but the problem was everywhere we'd go, like nobody could find the record. So we were doing really, good shows, and then people would be like, "I want to buy your record." And it's not like back then you had the record at the shows. But we would literally go to whatever town, Tower Records, and, there'd be like 3 or 4 of them. Even in Austin, when it came out, I think there was, only like 30 records. So I think that was the hardest thing for us. We kept on getting good tours, but nobody could buy the record, So after a while of us not selling records, then they kind of, pulled the plug on us touring or whatever.
Sorry. Did you guys, that's always a tough, were you still?
Well, the saddest thing is right when the Goo Goo Dolls started getting big, and they asked us to tour with them, and the label said no. So we were pretty bummed with that.
Dude.
But it happens, like just sometimes getting like Howard. So Howard, who found us and produced us, he ended up becoming our A&R guy, which was awesome. But by that time, he was like, "Hey, y'all can do another record," but I would do another, because it's just, they're not really gonna push you just like this record, Yeah. Again, we got on 120 minutes, and we played all these like kind of big festivals, but we sold well. I think we sold close to 100,000 records, but just not good enough,
Was that so what happened? Did you start making demos for the next record? Did you and start trying to find a new deal?
Yeah, and then I think by that time, Gabriel was like a good chameleon. Whatever, like if it was Soundgarden, then he loved Chris Cornell. If it was Blind Melon, he loved Shannon Hoon. And then all of a sudden it was Green Day.
Right.
And which again, great pop songs, but like, that's yet a new genre to add in. And, so again, I would write those type of songs, but after a while, it was just like, we're kind of not.
I remember going to see you in that era and going like, wow, fuck, it almost had taken a turn towards like Weezer.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah. Well, and actually that's when Bill joined the band too. And Bill was and some of his songs are very Weezer, but so catchy. But again, I didn't want to be Weezer Jr. or Green Day Jr.
Yeah.
And it just didn't seem like there were good parts, but it just didn't seem like anything that excited me, because we're just kind of rehashing what these other bands did better.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't remember. I just remember that being like a stylistic change, and being with A&R and going like, wow, they really like changed their trip.
Right. But that's to this day, like I'll have a song that sounds like Brazilian music. Then I'll have a song that sounds like Thin Lizzy. Then I'll have a song that sounds like Ryan Adams. Like I just kind of write. So some of that's my fault of not having a direct line on how to sound. But to me, like, Beatles' White Album.
That's what I was just about. Are you one of those guys whose favorite Beatle album is the White Album? The huge mess, but like to us, it's like, what do you mean? It's got everything.
yeah. But then I can also see why that annoys, some people as well.
Yeah. That's weird. I was just talking to you earlier. Do you know the band LA Guns? You know, right?
Yeah. Dean and Gabrielle knew them better. Yeah.
Do you remember that guy hanging out during that time? He lived here. The singer, Phil Lewis.
Maybe from like backroom days, yeah. But
no, he was like a Steamboat and Black Cat guy.
No, didn't know that.
Both of our ex-wives were friends, and then we ended up meeting during that time.
Right.
And just kind of like hanging out. But he told me a similar story to like, I can't remember the band, but it was like some huge band was just about to take the LA Guns guys on tour, and the label pulled the funding. Yeah. And it just kind of like killed the vibe. Right.
But I think that happens all the time. But it's just being at the right label and having the right A&R guy. Blind Melon and like Hootie and the Blowfish, both of those records were way out over a year, before they hit.
Yeah.
And so it's, so everybody's always kind of feeling like, oh, well, if it was another like 4 months, then maybe something could have happened. But I think Rapture was a good pop song, but the kind of more kind of more the heavier stuff, I didn't think was as accessible as the songs that Gabrielle sang.
Right. I think you turned me on to Geek Love. Wasn't there a song on there about Geek Love?
Yeah. And actually, it was the singer of Camper Van Beethoven. What's the red-haired guy? We played some festival with him, and
David Lowery.
And then, and he was the one that was reading it, and I just talked to him, and he's like, "This book's awesome,"
Yeah,
so.
I think that's what you told me, and when I read it, I was like, "How is this even?" Do you know what's been going on with that IP?
No.
Like Tim Burton's had it for like I think 20-something years.
Right.
And they just keep on trying to. People keep writing scripts; it just doesn't.
Right.
But I think now we live in a world technologically advanced enough where, it could look like what we read.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway,
it's a pretty bleak book, but I loved it.
Yeah. I think it resonates with people that age that feel like outcasts but have a tribe. You know what I mean?
Right.
I know a lot of musicians who connected just straight on with that book, just like this is my thing. So with Color, I'm going to tell you exactly what I remember.
Okay.
I remember going to Tower Records in the summer of 2001 and picking up, like, fuck, man, dude, they got it. They got their records coming out, like me and Anar.
Right.
And checking this out. And I remember the sticker mostly because it was on my living room, like coffee table.
Right.
Album coming 9/11.
Oh yeah.
01.
Yeah. I remember. So Van, our drummer, called us. Like even that whole thing was not the best experience for me. Again, it's great being signed, but I would think most bands would have their record before it came out. I had to buy my own Color record.
Really?
Yeah. None of us had the thing, but I remember Van calling the morning of 9/11 and me just saying, "Okay, dude, I know it's our day." And then he's like, "We'll turn on the news," and oh man, it's awful. And then going to Waterloo to buy our own record. Oh, it was a pretty crazy day.
Did that whole thing, like, it just kind of ended because of that?
Well, also the production wasn't. So the guy that signed us produced Matchbox 20.
Yeah.
And so we wanted so we ended up like hooking up with this other singer, Chris Can. Dean was our guitar player and Van was our drummer. And again, if it was like Cheap Trick and The Who and kind of all I envisioned, then I think we would have been a cool band. But but the guy that produced Matchbox 20 produced it. It was just too overdone. So like to this day, I'd much rather play you our demos than our record.
I'd love to hear the demos. But, I do remember there was a song on there that had this quality to it, and I liked it. But it had this similar quality to Only the Young by Journey.
Maybe.
There was something soaring about the chorus like that chorus had, and there was something familiar about that to me.
Right. Well, speaking of Journey, did you know we toured with Journey and Peter Frampton?
No way.
Not many people. So before our record came out, like the guy that was our manager, he had like AC/DC, again, back in the day.
Right.
And Foreigner back in the day, but we kind of got pushed to get this manager. And, again, just trusting people, but not the right manager. So we're supposed to be this like cool alternative band. But they're like, well, what do y'all think about touring with Journey and Peter Frampton all summer? And to me, I'm like, it's a goof, but it's probably not the smartest thing if you want to be like an alternative band. Right. But we got to tour like and play in front of all these people for a whole summer. And those, like, even though nothing happened with that record, oh my God, those were some of the best like experiences. Like, they were in
those are huge, like Woodlands Pavilion kind of places, right?
Yeah. We played there in this place called the Gorge near Seattle. It was one of the most beautiful things. But again, it's so funny. Like our record wasn't out. Everybody was like, who is this band? And then by the time our record came out, and actually 9/11 was one thing, but then Matt, who signed us, ended up becoming the president of Virgin. And so he left Arista, our label. And so that was another reason why Arista's like, well, we're not going to push this band anymore. Right. And we had a chance to go with Matt, but it just nobody liked, or even in our band, nobody liked our record. So I was kind of like, I don't want to continue if it's going to, keep on. If we have no say, there's kind of no use in continuing.
What'd you do?
Well, I just kind of started writing songs and all, again, looking for another singer, but I think it took me like 8 years to find another singer, but I just kept on writing and kind of the same thing that I'm doing to this day, Yeah. Again, I don't necessarily care about like having a huge record deal. I just want to be consistent and put out music and hopefully now with the internet, hopefully once I finish what I'm recording now, I'll just put whatever out.
Tell me something about that. What is it? Tell me of this music that you're recording.
So what I'm doing now, my friend Paul, I've also like one of my jobs is I've played at a church for 17 years. And this drummer, he's such an awesome engineer. And I like more of what I've done with him than, in seed and color, like just production wise. Sure. And, but again, it's everywhere from like one song sounds like Phoenix. The next song sounds like, Jackson 5. And those are the songs that I'm worried about singing are the funkier ones. But, so I was in heavy bands my whole life and I love hooks and I just kind of wanted to write more like feel good type music. And just kind of that's what the record's going to be. But I think some of it I'm just insecure about finishing it, just about singing it. But some of the songs are going to be awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited. Do you have a band together to do it? Or?
No. And so that's yet another thing is like I still just want to be the bass player. Yeah. But I occasionally like play out like every New Year's at a Hotel Vegas.
Yeah.
I've been and we always do really, really well. But, 1 year will be Bee Gees, the next year will be Interpol. And that's really, those gigs are the ones that I play out the most. And I'll pick up an occasional, record or an occasional, hey, like Mike Kincaid.
Uh-huh.
So it'll be like, hey, my bass player Flates, can you come play? And that's to me really exciting where I've never, really played with a band.
Yeah.
But then you have to go play a 2-hour gig. It's pretty fun.
I like Michael a lot, man. That guy's great.
Yeah. Again, one of the best singers I've heard. He's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. When do you know when you'll be releasing it? or anything?
So I need to finish. Everything's done except the vocals and some keyboards. And so just with money, having to finish and just the time to do it. So hopefully within the next 6 months, but
Great.
just with getting together with people where they don't, want to get in the same house. That's going to be the hard thing or whatever.
Yeah. Dude, those New Year's Eves at Hotel Vegas bum me out because Skyrocket, that's,
Right.
New Year's Eve is like our New Year's Eve,
Yeah.
So there's no there is a part of me that wants to go see my friends playing New Order songs all night on one stage and go see my friends playing like the Cure songs on another. You know what I mean? Like that sounds amazing to me. And every time they do it, I'm always like, man, why can't they do it for like a week or something?
Right.
So everyone can go see it.
Right. I hope they continue with that.
Yeah.
Because Barracuda just closed, so I'm hoping that Jason can keep open Hotel Vegas as well.
Are you? What do you think about all that stuff that's happening now? Like, where do you? Obviously, you don't like it, but do you feel like we're going to see a lot more of what happened with Barracuda, especially now that we're having like a second wave of like?
Yeah, but I hope whether it's funding from the city or from the state, some of these places can, hold out for a little longer. But, even being in a band in the 90s or a signed band to now, just everything in the music business is just so different. So I think everybody's just kind of hustling, know? And so, but yeah, I hope, they can figure out a way to stay open.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. It's going to be a weird time, but I am looking forward to music from you.
Awesome.
I know that people can find Kazi on SoundCloud, and I really love that stuff, man.
Well, so that was all just like garage. Like when you texted earlier, I was like, I have no idea what it is.
That's fine with me.
But I think it was just me on GarageBand like 6 or 7 years ago.
Yeah.
But I started Kazi, me just doing everything. Then I found a bunch of 20-something-year-olds, and we and the drummer again was a mix between Kyle and Van. Mm-hmm. So like we were talking about earlier, like I've always gotten so lucky with amazing drummers.
Yeah.
But just nobody kind of put in the work that needs to be put in. So I just kind of ended that, and then now just out of necessity, I'll finish it and I'll sing it. And like I said, some of the songs are actually all the songs, as just being a songwriter, I'm more proud of these than anything else I've ever written. Like I had a lyric, like in Seed and Color, I didn't really care about lyrics. But my friend Travis, who's a producer, he's like, you're, it's kind of a diss and a compliment, but he's like, you're such an asshole. Like the way that you like talk to people, my way of love is teasing.
Yeah.
And then he was like, well, why don't you write lyrics the way that you just naturally are?
Yeah.
And so, like, I don't know if you know Ron Sexsmith.
Yeah, but I don't know personally, but I love his stuff.
But whether it's Ron Sexsmith or Squeeze or, just that kind of sarcastic type of writing. So now my songs are, there's so many lyrics now. And so that kind of like totally changed the way that, so now lyrics are equally as important as hooks.
That's great.
But it's just always searching for something new.
That's funny that you say that, because I remember when I first met you, I didn't know what to make of you, because you obviously have a close relationship with your brothers and sisters, and knowing now that you and Dwight knew each other for so long.
Oh, yeah.
Now I'm like, oh, yeah, because it's the same reaction. Like, I'm like, is this guy being mean to me? Or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it didn't take long to realize you're a good-hearted person, and that is when you really like someone, you just give them shit.
Right. Well, even
which I like that.
I played 2 songs on Dwight has a band called Wind in the Wave that are just amazing with Patty. But then it was so fun being around Patty, and she gave us this look like she's like, "Oh my God, there's like 2 of you."
Yeah,
But
yeah, I love them a lot, man. Those guys are doing great. I know that they had a lot of touring. They had a lot of touring schedules, didn't they?
Yeah.
They had to cancel. So what do you got going the rest of the summer? Like,
so like
finish the music?
Life hasn't changed that much for me. So I teach, and I play at a church, and I walk dogs. And so like, you know, I'm still kind of, other than losing some students, life hasn't changed that much. But yeah, it's just finding the time, whether I finish it with my friend or my other friend Chico that I told you I was. He's at I think it's called Ohm, but I forgot what it's called now. But I might finish off the record with him, just because I think as a singer, he or Dwight would be much better at kind of giving me that confidence to, you know, to finish it off.
Yeah. What's it going to be under?
That I don't know. So I was Kazi, and actually it was this like kid in second grade, and I just thought like it always like sounded cool, but I had no idea about Kazi, like the radio station in Austin.
Oh, okay.
You know, which is like an urban. It's like an urban like radio station in Austin, and then there's a bunch of other rappers named Kazi.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things. Like I just thought K's and Z's are like good with fonts, so I thought it would be a good short name. But yeah, so I'll probably have to come up with something else. But just the main thing is I just need to finish the record, and then it might just come out as my name. So, but I'll let you know.
Yeah, do. And you can come back on and we can just talk about that for a while.
Yeah.
Just been good catching up. Is there anything you want to? I'm leaving out, or I know there's a lot of stuff I'm leaving out, but.
Oh no! Everything's good.
Yeah.
The main thing is, I'm so proud of what I'm writing now, and that's kind of what I want to show more than anything.
That's a great feeling. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, good, man.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me.
Well, dude, thanks for doing it. It's great seeing you and talking to you, and yeah.
Yes, I hope we can do it again.
Yeah, we will.
Okay.
From the bands Seed, Color, and Kazi, that is my dear old friend Chadwick Salls. What a great, talented man. Great songwriter, great singer. You shouldn't be afraid of his voice. He's a good dude. Love that guy. I was a little bummed at the beginning when I heard myself talking about Taylor and how much fun I had with him. This was a few weeks ago, a couple weeks before Taylor passed on. Such a rough thing to deal with. I know that Chad just went through this too. Such a bummer. Anyway, great having Chad on. Love talking to him. Love his music. He's going to have new music coming soon, hopefully. Keep in touch with Chadwick Salls, all right? Thanks so much for listening to the show. And gang, don't forget that COVID-19, it's running rampant out there. You want to get 15% off of an antibody test? Go to proresultsaustin.com/HDIGH for 15% off your antibody COVID-19 test, okay? Or your COVID-19 antibody test. All right, let's hear the rest of this beautiful song, Get By, from my friend Chadwick Salls. He did it with Dwight Baker, our pal over there in the out-of-town places. All right, have a good day, whatever it is you're doing. Let's get down.